Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Vern Glenn.
What's up, America?
And Bruce McGowan.
It's wonderful to be here.
And we are in the studio here with Steve Baker, who is a sports agent, good friend of Vern's.
That's right. We go back.
You go back. And Steve, we're just going to get right into this. Give us some of the most creative deals you've done.
I think the deals that I probably had the most fun doing was, one memory I have is I was negotiating with Bill Walsh on Jeff Garcia's first big contract. And we were something like $10 million apart on the deal.
Chump change.
I remember walking into the bathroom in Bill's office and looking in the mirror thinking that I'm really arguing with Bill Walsh about the value of a quarterback, which was a little bit surreal. And we came up with a solution where if Jeff was one of the top 3 quarterbacks rated in the league, he would get a certain escalator, and then we did it below that for other levels. And it was a way to...
Well, let me ask you, maybe, now you're talking to Bill Walsh about this, but he's not the guy who writes the paycheck.
No, well, actually, at the time, Bill was running the team, so Bill was the person.
Okay, fair enough.
He was finding the groceries for the kitchen and paying for the groceries.
Hey, in the big picture of NFL monopoly, $10 million, is that a wide gap, medium gap, small gap? I mean, what $10 million apart?
I mean, it's funny. Sometimes you're arguing over $1,000, and other times you're arguing over $10 million. $10 million in any school of thought ever. The day will never come that I don't think $10 million is.
And apparently, he was the first quarterback to ever make $20 million in 2 years.
What happened was we put this clause in, and going into the last game of the season that next year, Jeff was the 4th rated quarterback in the league.
Wow.
And so he was 1 rating point below hitting this $10 million bonus. Now, he had other bonuses that he was going to reach, but then Brett Favre was number 3. Brett Favre had a great game that last game. And then I'm at Candlestick, or I guess it wasn't Monster or 3 Combat.
Yeah.
But I'm at Candlestick, and Jeff has a game where he was something like 15 to 25 for 301 yards with 3 touchdowns, and the yards per attempt was something like 15 yards. So he ends up passing Brett Favre by 1/100th of a point.
Wow. Oh, wow.
So the next day, telling Jeff that he had just hit a $10 million escalator was pretty funny.
Sweet.
I got to ask you something, though, because you mentioned Bill Walsh. To me, and I got to know Bill Walsh pretty well, covering the team closely in the 80s. To me, he's one of the most fascinating characters. What's it like dealing in a semi-contentious atmosphere? Obviously, there is civility going on there between you two. But, I mean, what is it? You mentioned it was kind of surreal. What was that like being in the room and having to deal with this guy who obviously you're a little bit in awe of?
Well, I mean, he was a spectacular person. I mean, in my entire experience, I've never dealt with anyone like him. He was brilliant. He was warm. He was funny. My understanding is I heard from people at the 49ers that the Bill Walsh that I met in the late 90s was not the same Bill Walsh that existed in the 80s. So, I heard that like people would say, what you're dealing with now is Uncle Bill.
Yeah.
While in the mid 80s,
it was
in the mid 80s, if a picture frame was slightly out of whack, someone was losing their job.
Well, I remember Eddie DeBartolo kicked over, and I think he broke a soft drink dispenser after the Niners lost this playoff game and just went ape, against Walsh. And Walsh literally quit the next day, and I guess Bill came back, hat in hand, said, "I'll take my job back." And he said, "Okay, let's all is forgiven." But they had those kind of it was kind of a dysfunctional relationship. They liked each other, but they fought like cats and dogs. I mean, you must have heard the stories, huh?
I have.
Yeah.
I mean, but let's face it. If you look at the NFL's Mount Rushmore, I would think Bill Walsh is on it.
Oh, absolutely.
He was spectacular and he was brilliant. And I mean, at the end of his career, we'd go to breakfast fairly often in Woodside. And if you've seen the movie Goodfellas, where everyone comes up to the table, it was like that. I mean,
Pays their respect.
Sitting at a restaurant in Woodside with Bill Walsh is a pretty surreal experience.
Now, does Jeff Garcia still send you Christmas cards for that extra bonus?
Jeff Garcia still sends me Christmas cards.
He better.
There's one more kid every year on the Christmas card.
Right.
He had such a fascinating career. I mean, he blossomed late, then he had this spectacular little run. And then he kind of, he still hung around for a while. He was an interesting athlete, but just so competitive, so hard. I didn't cover him that closely, but he was a fascinating character.
If you could bottle Jeff Garcia's competitiveness and find a way to measure it, that's where scouts miss in evaluating players. I mean, Jeff was the singularly most competitive player I've ever seen. I mean, an absolute will to succeed. I mean, there's many players with greater physical skills that didn't succeed. I believe Jeff still remains the only 49er quarterback ever to have 2 consecutive 30-touchdown seasons. I mean, he was a very special player.
And yet, when he was with the Raiders, and maybe I'm biased, watching him day in and day out, he was better than the guys that were ahead of him.
Oh.
Yeah, but I don't know if business being business, this being Sports Econ 101, these other two guys, younger, maybe made a little bit more, they had to play him. I mean, you're on the inside, Steve. Jeff essentially walked away from the Raiders, not like no mas, no more, but it just seemed like he was a little frustrated by what was going on, and whatever he did on the field didn't matter.
Well, two of the most surreal moments of my career. One was when Jeff Garcia called me up and said, "Steve, I need you to call Al Davis and tell him I don't want to be on the Raiders."
Ooh.
And the
that's
most
a
surreal
that's a hard
conversation.
He asked you to do that?
He
Seriously?
did, and I then did. And
Oh.
imagine what it was like calling up Al
Ooh.
Davis. Now the problem is that Jeff couldn't accept being Jamarcus Russell's backup.
Could blame him.
No, I mean Jeff had a. I mean, listen, I experienced many highs and lows with Jeff. I mean the Philadelphia Eagles run where he led the Eagles into the playoffs. He was playing quarterback at as high of a level as I've ever seen a quarterback play. He had the playoff game where the 49ers came back and beat the Giants. That was an incredible game. He had a very interesting career.
And what was that conversation like when Al Davis and you spoke? I mean, what did he say? Was it civil, or did he get mad and kind of chew you out, or was it real short and sweet? What happened?
I'm just a messenger.
He was not a happy camper, and
No four-letter words, though, right?
Well, I seem to remember there being a few four-letter words. I mean, Al Davis was an amazing man.
He was an amazing guy.
But that was an uncomfortable situation.
But you know,
was there ever a time where, maybe Al just said, "Look, Steve, or young man,
young
do
man.
you know what I'm paying Jamarcus Russell? I have to put him out in. I have to have him stretch the field."
That's good. That's very good.
That actually is very good. That actually is a better impersonation than maybe now it was Vern Glenn on the other side.
When I lost my job at KNBR, seriously, this is a true story. The day after I lost my job, the first person to call me up was Al Davis. And he said, "Is there anything I can do for you? Would you like to come to work for the Raiders?" Seriously.
And what did you say?
I said, "I'd love to come to work for the Raiders," but I never did. But it says, the guy had everybody figured out. He had a file on everybody. I'm convinced he even had a file on me, as insignificant as I was.
No, the level of knowledge that Al Davis had was really pretty spectacular.
I was going to ask you with the Jeff Garcia thing, getting the $20 million in 2 years. How much of that do you think had to do with the fact that it was the 49ers compared to the Kansas City Chiefs or Tampa Bay Bucks?
No question, a lot of it had to do with the 49ers. The 49ers traditionally have been a team that, and certainly back in the Eddie DeBartolo era, and back, the 49ers have always been a team that treated their players fairly. At the time when I did that deal for Jeff actually could have been a restricted free agent for the 49ers, and they could have drastically underpaid him. And Jeff was coming off of a Pro Bowl, and they did a contract that had a structure which rewarded him very handsomely.
Very good. Okay, guys, we're going to cut to our first commercial.
Already?
Yeah, I tell you, it goes fast. You know it.
As you get older, it goes faster, too.
Okay.
It's a Lon Simmons used to say that. I always say, "Lon, you look so good for 90. Yeah, wait till you get to be 90.
He's a funny guy.
I'm just wondering to see if you can do that commercial in Al Davis's voice.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
I do. Actually, well, this one, I can't do Al Davis, but in this trivia theme is winners in baseball, and I can do the Mel Allen
Okay, there you go.
this week in baseball.
There you go.
Remember that?
Sure.
Okay, ready for this one?
Yeah.
The World Series MVP award began in 1955.
Wow.
Who was the first player to win this award? The first 3 emails with the correct answer win a free.
55 World Series. That's what, Dodgers and
Yankees.
Dodgers Yankees.
That's
Okay.
And the Dodgers won it.
That's right. That's the only one they won.
Yeah.
The
In
first-
Brooklyn.
In Brooklyn, yeah.
Yeah.
The first 3 emails with the correct answer win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Email Edward at sportsecon101.com the answer to this question. The World Series MVP award began in 1955. Who was the first player to win this award? Don't touch that dial. Sports Econ 101 will be right back.
So it's definitely one of the boys this summer, but which one?
Is it Jackie
I
Robinson?
was going to say Jackie Robinson?
You know I never give you the answers to the air.
But can you just give us a hint? It's one of the regular players, right? One of the regular
Wait,
guys?
is it a regular position player?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Was it Jackie Robinson?
Wasn't Johnny
No,
Potter?
I don't think it was. I don't think.
Wasn't Johnny Potter?
Yeah, Say Jackie won the Rookie of the Year, didn't he?
He did.
It
It
was
wasn't
47.
Edward. It wasn't a pitcher,
Two
right?
times in history,
Hold
the
on.
Major League home run champion
Was it
had a
somebody
lower
like-
batting average than the Cy Young Award winner.
Was it
Wow. That's
Roy
what that
Campanella? Was Roy Campanella?
He
the
was.
catcher?
He was, but I don't think. It was. I bet you it was one of the boys this summer. But I bet you it was somebody like. It wasn't Bobby Cox. It wasn't Jimmy Reese. It wasn't Jackie. It wasn't First. It wasn't Campanella. It wasn't. Who else was on that team? Duke Snyder. Cookie Lafayette. No, it wasn't on that team. God, I don't know.
Damn.
Is it a? Remember, it wasn't a pitcher though, right?
I'm not conceding
He's
nothing.
not-
Johnny Padres.
Get anything out of
Nothing.
No,
Okay,
but
wait, hold on.
Johnny Padres won the last game of that series. He shut out the Yankees 2-0, but I don't think he was MVP. Who made them?
I would bet anything it was
Who
Johnny
was it?
Padres.
I cannot.
I would bet anything Johnny Padres.
Johnny Padres died a few years ago too. Not too long ago.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah, about 2 years ago.
Hey,
I'll
well,
bet $1,000 it was Johnny Padres.
You think so? Okay, I'm gonna go with Johnny Padres.
No looking up things on the interview.
Well,
Rascal. I saw it, you. You can't fool me.
It's
You
Johnny
can't
Padres.
fool me.
while I was in Arizona.
Oh, that's right. You just got back. Huh?
Yeah, I just got back.
I'm going there on Saturday.
Oh,
Sandy Koufax got hit in the head with
I
a line
saw
drive.
that. And then he just
And
shrugged
didn't
it
go
off.
down. Just
He
brr.
shrugged it off and then joked about it in the
Yeah.
press room
Okay,
afterwards.
how old is he now?
74,
Wow.
75.
Because of Mega is amazing.
I think he's 75. He's a boy. He's a prickly guy. You talk about a
No
prickly
more
guy.
looking on the internet for the questions.
I'm not saying it on the.
Vern, have you ever interviewed Sandy Koufax?
Never.
Very prickly. Very
Really?
prickly. Yeah.
Really?
Once you get to know him, he's okay. But right, he's
Prickly like
mention
F with
Harbaugh.
you.
Mention you saw him on Mr. Ed.
There you go. That's right. He was. And he and Don Drysdale were on this. Remember, they held out together in 1966, I think it was, or 65, and they were actually on a couple of those kids
Oh,
shows.
the Brady Bunch.
Brady Bunch, yeah.
Don
I was
Drysdale
on-
and Wes
I remember
Parker.
the Dodgers were featured on an episode of The Munsters.
That's right.
Remember Herman Munster? He hit a
Yeah,
ball
yeah.
so hard, and then it hit somebody in the back of the head. Somebody
I once took a jacuzzi with Fred Gwynn.
Oh, really? Oh, I love that guy.
My
Great.
father-in-law represented Peter O'Malley,
No, wow.
Really?
and I was at the Dodgers 100th anniversary.
Wow.
And there I got a ball signed by Koufax, Drysdale, and Duke Snyder.
Oh, wow.
You should have gotten 3 different balls.
I went over to Lasorda to ask him to sign it, and he refused, saying it would bring down the
Tommy
value of the ball.
refused?
He said,
said
I'll sign a different ball.
Wow,
Yeah,
okay.
exactly,
Oh,
yeah,
of course,
that's
of
what we
course.
learned,
That makes
yeah.
sense.
Because back then, balls were expensive, and so, if you got
Yeah.
single balls like Ruth and Gehrig and all that. Do you guys remember Sergeant Bilko?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There was an episode where, oh, come on, what's the
Phil
fat
Silvers.
guy? No, I know, but I mean, not Dorfman. That's thinking of Animal House. He plays a catcher, and then eventually Yogi Berra comes on the show because they kind of look a little bit alike, and they kind of, who is this guy? Yeah.
Well, Don Drysdale, you mentioned those guys. Duke Snyder, Don Drysdale, again, when they were broadcasters, I interviewed a couple
It's like
times.
Cleo DeRoche. Somebody got hit in the back of the head, and he says, "What's the closest ballpark for here?" Oh, about 5 blocks. Find me the person that hit this ball.
That's right.
Real quick thing about Leo DeRocher. Again, another interview, and he said, I thought, wow, this is a great story. I go back and read the story in the book. Word for word, he rehearsed it and told it so many times it was word for word.
Wow.
I swear to God. It's like he read off a script. It's so funny.
Great speech in the
Yeah.
kitchen in 42. I don't know if any of you have seen 42
Yes.
yes.
42, yeah.
Terrific. Terrific film.
Are we back to
One of the things, yeah. Okay, I was going to ask you about the salary cap affecting competitive balance in the NFL.
Good topic.
And you guys want to
Yeah, very good
go on over
topic.
this? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We'll let Steve be the
The primary
smart one
area of
for
his
this
expertise
First
here.
question.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Vern Glenn, Bruce McGowan,
2, 3, 4.
and our special guest, Steve Baker, sports agent. When we cut to the first commercial break, we asked this trivia question. Again, the theme is winners in baseball. The World Series MVP award began in 1955. Who was the first player to win this award?
Mr. Baker?
Yes, Mr. Baker. Go ahead.
You
You
know
can
it's
answer.
right.
Well, according to Google,
No, you knew this. Who is it?
Johnny Padres.
Johnny Padres.
Padres.
That is correct.
He
that where-
shut him out 2-0.
Isn't that where San Diego got its name? The Padres?
The Padres, that's right. Yeah.
Okay. Steve, question for you. How does the salary cap affect competitive balance in the NFL?
Well, I don't think it affects competitive balance as much as you think. I mean, the purpose of the salary cap is everyone's playing with an equal amount of money so that it should be an equalizing effect. I think in the end, what the salary cap really does is it just allows teams to save money. If you notice, I mean, there are a group of teams that tend to win a lot more than other teams, and I think it's more a function of great management as opposed to a salary cap.
Okay. Which takes us to something that we talked about just before we got on the air. Is it true that the Cleveland Browns are attempting to trade draft picks for the 49ers coach, Jim Harbaugh? And you were mentioning that the salary cap doesn't have anything to do with the coaches.
No, I frankly think that one thing you'll see over the next 15 years is a huge increase in head coach salaries, partly because of Harbaugh's success with the 49ers. A precedent-setting, change-the-game contract for an NFL head coach is what a backup quarterback makes.
Couldn't you get around the rule by paying the head coach a super large amount and just tell him, okay, over time you got to pay some of these guys some extra money? That would work for you.
That would be a fairly significant violation of the salary.
I'm sure it would. Of course, I would be thinking of that. Any questions you want to ask?
I was just going to say, this whole thing with Harbaugh, I don't know what Steve and Vern, I'd like to hear both your opinions on it, because it just evolved into this little brush fire, and then all of a sudden it took off and it became a major brush fire. And it sounds as if the two sides really didn't, Cleveland would have been interested, but it's more of a power situation, isn't it, Steve? Harbaugh and Vern, you're close enough to the situation. Harbaugh wants more power, and the 49ers don't want to give it.
He grew up or born in Ohio?
He was born in Ohio, yes.
Yeah.
You want to go?
I find it very difficult to believe that someone would want to leave. The 49ers seem to be about as perfect a situation as there is. Is Jim Harbaugh underpaid? Without question. At the same time, he's also still under a contract.
What is he getting paid this year?
I believe he's paid
$5
$5 million a year. Which again, I have never reached the point that when I say something with all those zeros that I don't think.
Well, that's weekend pocket.
Of course,
Bruce here, but
of course.
At the time, it was a pretty good deal. 5 years, $25 million.
Of course, it's significant. But I think what's happening is we don't fully know what's happening. The one question I'd like to know is how did it get leaked? It's sort of like all the president's men follow the money. Follow the rumor. Why did the rumor get leaked? And if you find out who leaked the rumor, that'll tell you.
I have a theory on that one.
Go ahead. Yeah.
My theory is this: I think there's a code among ownerships where these guys talk. A couple of glasses of bourbon or whatever, backroom talk, whatever. And I think somehow the Cleveland owner and Jed York got to talking, and Cleveland. He's probably crying on his shoulder. Oh man, I wish we could be like the 49ers. Hey, what would it? How about it? What if we wanted Harbaugh? What would it take? And I think it's what Jed says, what he says, what Jed says, what he says, and then I think at the end of the day, it's like, well, how about some draft picks?
Yeah.
And then when it looks like some sort of deal is about to be formulated for whatever reason, allegedly Harbaugh says, well, I don't want to go to Cleveland, so the deal's dead. I think in the code of ownership, Jed thought, well, that was it. What Jed wasn't figuring out is that the Cleveland owner would talk when approached.
Yeah.
And the Cleveland owner is the one that said, well, yeah, we tried to get him.
It'd be a fool not to. It'd be a fool not to. Get Jim Harbaugh away from the 49ers? What a coup that would be.
Except, what does the Cleveland owner gain by there being a story out there that he failed to get Jim Harbaugh?
Exactly.
That's where, again, I'd like to be a fly on the wall how the rumor originally got.
Well, now we know why it took them so long to hire a head coach.
Yeah.
They were holding out to get that. Are you kidding me? They had a chance to get Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah,
I think what Jed York didn't figure on was that. I think his first mistake was this: when Jed was first approached by it, he just immediately said, "Deny." Well, that's not true.
Sure.
And then, but the Cleveland owner, it was out there.
But didn't the Cleveland owners, they were originally going to the 49ers saying, we'd like to talk to some of your assistant coaches, and Harbaugh said after the season's over, that's fine, and that was
that's standard procedure.
That's what they were, and then they didn't realize that they'd been ambushed once they got in there. Yeah, it's interesting.
Well, Steve, is there ever a theory, not theory, but is it sort of a us against them type of thing? The owners compared to, the players and the coaches, because, you got the unions and all that stuff. We got to band together, man. Is that sort of thing?
Like collusion?
Kind of tribal, isn't it?
I'd say collusion, but I'd say.
Hey, listen. Obviously, you're dealing with it's basically millionaires battling with billionaires.
And you're right in the middle of it too. How do you deal with that?
When it's right, it's very exciting. On other times, it's less than exciting. In the case of this, I can see both sides. In one sense, Jim Harbaugh has clearly exceeded his deal. On the other side, he signed to a deal. But Jim Harbaugh has a record over the first 3 years of his career that is unprecedented.
Well, John Gruden was traded from the Raiders to the Bucs.
I remember that.
First-round
I remember that.
Bad deal. Bad deal. And he comes back and kills the Raiders in the Super Bowl.
Exactly, and he got $8 million, and didn't the Bucs end up beating?
But let's look at some of the trades that have happened. Okay, the Jets traded Bill Belichick to the Patriots. Brilliant deal by the Patriots.
Yeah.
The Raiders traded Gruden to the Bucs. Several years later, Gruden no longer was employed by the Bucs.
That's right.
Yeah.
And the Raiders had nothing to show for the draft picks. If Gruden had stayed with Al Davis, coming off of 2 years where they were probably the best team in the NFL, who knows what kind of success he would have had with the Raiders.
And Herm Edwards and Bill Parcells were also traded as head coaches.
That's right. I forgot about it. I got to ask Steve, because I'm fascinated, Steve. You're doing something that a lot of people would love to do, but at the same time, as you said, it can get contentious. And not to embarrass you, and you don't have to tell tales out of school here, but could you have a little scenario you can tell us about where it was really a tough situation? You managed to get the best out of it, but it was you're dealing with somebody who was just intractable and very difficult. And you had to really sweet talk them and just really kind of get down and do a lot of negotiating. I mean, I'm curious, what's that like, and can you tell us a story about that?
Someone catching me from the side. There's. I can tell you a story that's a little bit different than contentious, but maybe doesn't reflect tremendously on me, but it'll give you a little bit of idea how crazy the business is. I was once representing an offensive lineman where his market value, this was in the early 90s, his market value was probably about $200,000 a year. And I felt I could, and that was a good backup lineman's salary.
Okay.
And I'm negotiating with the team, and my first offer I asked for was for $500,000, which was the absolute most aggressive I could have possibly asked for.
What year is this?
This was like 92, and it was it was aggressive, but but not irrational.
You're aiming high. Why not?
Now, at the time, my wife was an anchor woman up in Sacramento, and I used to drive up across the Bay Bridge to go see her. And I'm negotiating this deal, and in my car, and I pull off with my phone that at that time was 5 stories big, and I pull off.
Like Miami Vice.
I pull off at the Unocal station right before the Bay Bridge, and I'm negotiating, and I ask for $500,000 a year, and the GM on the other side says okay, and it was a great deal, and I have no regrets about the deal. But I was so freaked out that my first offer was accepted that I drove off at the gas can of my car across the Bay Bridge.
Oh my God!
Wow,
I should have asked for $700,000.
Wow,
that's a good story.
And how often do you have to either feel like a babysitter or just get involved deeply in the players' lives?
I tend to represent very bright players. I mean, my clients are mostly from Stanford and Cal and Davis.
Oh, okay.
So, to be honest, it's not really a babysitter. It's very time intensive. I've done several deals where I did one deal where the GM named all the clauses in the contract after ski runs in North Star because we negotiated it while I was at North Star. But I have been blessed. But when you represent very, very smart players, it tends not to.
And how'd you get in the business?
I was when I was in law school, when everyone else that was in law school was looking for a job at a big firm, I went to LA and wrote game show questions. Because my father had a connection with Goods and Todman Productions, and I wrote game show questions for Family Feud, Card Sharks, and Price is Right. And
Great show.
25th generation networking, trying to break into the entertainment business as a lawyer. I met a sports lawyer, joined up with him, worked with him for 5 years, and then went off my own.
Anybody that we know?
Lee Steinberg.
Oh my gosh!
I've heard of him. Just Lee Steinberg.
I forgot you guys are tied at the umbilical cord, so to speak.
Actually, it was interesting. I went to Lee's book signing a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, he was in town. I interviewed him. He came over to KGO. It was really an enjoyable interview.
He making a comeback?
Yeah, man. He's trying to get back on the horse.
Is he going to go full force, or does he just want to kind of get back into it sort of part time? Steve?
I sense he wants to do it, and anyone who underestimates Lee underestimates him at their peril.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to cut to our second commercial break here. Again, the theme is winners in baseball. No looking at the internet this time. Okay, the Gold Glove Award first began in 1957. Which American League second baseman won the first Gold Glove Award?
1957.
The the first 3
Oh.
emails with the correct answer.
Is it a household name or is it one of these,
I don't know.
Slap McGee?
Gosh, no. You will. Let's put it this way: you will definitely know the name.
Hall of
Okay.
Famer?
Off the top of my head, I can't remember.
Okay, don't worry.
He may or may not be.
Okay, that's good then.
But-
Not
but
that
he
many
may be good.
second basemen in the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
Yeah.
The first 3 emails with the correct answer win a free 3-day 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Email Edward at sportsecon101.com the answer to this question. The Gold Glove Award first began in 1957. Which American League second baseman won the first Gold Glove Award? Don't touch that dial. Sports Econ 101. We'll be right back.
Bill Mazeroski.
Well, I think he's National League, though.
National
League.
Maybe
It's
Bobby
gonna be
Richardson?
Yankee.
Louis
Who was,
Aparicio.
who was second baseman?
I
Who
think
was
he-
second
I think
baseman for
he
the
was
Yankees in
a-
He was a
'57?
shortstop. Yeah, I bet you it was maybe it was Bobby Richardson, but he was not until a little later. I mean, he was very good later. But Bobby Richardson's an interesting guy. He was the head of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes.
Yeah.
But then he changed his. I mean, he
Caught the line drive last out in '62.
Oh, that was a
I
killer.
was at that game too. My
Really?
best friend took me. His dad was an executive.
I'm not
CBS.
searching.
He got a seat in
Yeah,
the press box.
we're cheating.
Oh my God! Biggest thrill as a kid.
Yeah,
The crowd was
still
just
Still
still
Shane
remember
Stove
that.
as
Willie
Texas.
McCovey, right?
Willie McCovey, the crowd. I've never heard a crowd so silent. It just was. You heard a few Yankee fans. You could hear the Yankee players screaming in joy on the field.
Yeah.
That's how quiet it was.
And was it Ted Kubek? Who was playing
Tony
Tuesday?
Kub-
Tony
Tony Kubek.
Tony Kubek?
Kubiak.
Kubek, yeah. Who later became a very fine announcer.
Yeah.
Got hit in the
He did.
throat. with
Tony
a bad
Kubek
bounce.
says. Tony Kubek sounds like a very good guess.
Yeah.
You didn't hear me say
He's
that.
getting up there though. He's about 80 now, isn't he?
He was a very good announcer. I agree.
He was very good.
I was reading something on the airplane last week about Ralph Kiner. Ralph Kiner was a very
We're going to get, actually, he's on my list here to talk
Get a-
about.
Just a great sense of humility and
Okay.
perspective. And
I would
In
like
fact,
to. I would
let's
like
get
to
it-
know, as an agent, just how you feel about Michael Sam.
oh yeah.
I mean, he's just. I mean,
Good question.
he did not have a very good
Right.
Oh,
I'll
combine.
be happy to talk about
workout.
that.
Just
All right.
his stock value and
Is the NFL going to accept him? What's it going to be like? Is it
I'm
going to
happy
be
to
circus?
talk
Yeah,
about
I'll
that.
talk about that. That'll be very interesting. He's handling the whole thing so well. I'm very impressed. Nice to see the NBA got the jump though. I like.
yeah. How about Jason Collins, huh?
I like
Yeah.
that. The NBA deserves. They've always been more progressive. Always. It seems to me. Tell me if I'm wrong. Isn't that true?
What?
The NBA just is a little more progressive about some things. In terms of player.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, well, there's more. Yeah, I mean, you're dealing with fewer players you have to worry about. I mean,
Yeah. And they're more. It's more of a family.
I agree.
Ask that question about Michael Sam, and then
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to talk a little bit about Ralph Kiner. Did you just pass on? All right, here we go. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Again, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Vern Glenn and Bruce McGowan.
Nice to be here.
And welcome, Steve Baker. Okay, when we cut to the second commercial break, we asked this trivia question. Again, the theme is winners in baseball. Here's the question. The Gold Glove Award first began in 1957. Which American League second baseman won the first Gold Glove Award?
I was going to say Bobby Richardson, but I think
No, that's not correct.
no.
Gosh.
Nellie Fox.
Nellie Fox.
Nellie
Is he
Fox.
in the Hall of Fame? I can't
Yes,
remember.
he is.
Okay, there we go.
Yes,
See,
he is.
I told you. I said,
Yeah.
maybe yes, maybe no.
Actually, no. You know something? He's not. Luis Aparicio is in the Hall of Fame.
See, there you go.
There you
See,
go.
I knew it was close.
One of the
Okay.
two. Yeah.
Got a second baseman, shortstop, it's all the same thing.
It isn't the same
It is not the same thing. Okay, Vern, you wanted to ask a question.
Well, as we speak, I mean, the NFL Combine going on in Indianapolis, and there's two big names there: Johnny Manziel and Michael Sam. Now, this is the linebacker that came out as openly gay. Hey, here I am. And as an agent, Steve, was it good strategy to just come out before the Combine came out? I mean, knowing that probably it was going to come out, so to speak, anyway. And his draft stock, once thought to be late third, somewhere in the fourth, maybe it's plummeted a little bit. I would love to get your take on Michael Sam.
First of all, I don't think Michael Sam's draft stock would have ever been very high.
Okay.
To say draft stock in February, it's far too soon. I mean, Michael Sam's a 260-pound. You said linebacker. I mean, some people say he's a defensive end. Some people say he's a linebacker. He certainly was a very, very good college player. He ran a 4.91 at the combine. Did fewer than 20 reps. With those kind of numbers, you're probably not going to go very high in the draft. With that said, I think that gay rights 20 years from now will be the same as what we look now with race rights. I mean, I think gay rights, our country is evolving that way. I think there's a lot of homophobia every place. There's certainly a lot of homophobia in an NFL locker room. I think Michael Sam will hasten those issues being dealt with. I can look at the Michael Sam issues from two perspectives. If I was a team, in one sense, for Michael Sam to be as excellent of a player as he's been, even though he's had to hide a secret. I mean, I guess he hasn't had to hide it from his teammates, but carrying that burden, the fact that he's been as excellent as he's been is a reason to say, hey, I want this player on my team. On the other side, will it be harder for a team to cut Michael Sam if he's not good because people seeing that you know, so I mean, I've already seen a lot of that. I mean, I've read articles where people are saying mysteriously Michael Sam's draft stock is going to fall now that he's come out. If anything, Michael Sam, frankly, is a hotter commodity because he announced he was gay. I mean, he has 5 different deals from car deal companies. They aren't because he ran a 4.91 at 260 pounds.
I was going to say, would he have more problems in the NFL than we'd have, say, in the NBA, because the NBA is a little more sort of informal and it's embraced, you know, equal rights much more diligently than the NFL has over the years.
I seem to remember Magic Johnson encountering a lot of issues.
Yeah.
I mean, so you know, I think we're still dealing. I think the world has a lot of homophobia, and I think sports mirrors life. And I suspect there's. I mean, but you know, for example, what if you figure that 15 to 20% of our population is gay? Figure that they're already. It's a pretty high percentage, I believe. And
15 to 20%.
Okay. Let's say 5%.
Okay.
I mean, there's 5%, and that there's 2 gay members of every locker room in the NFL right now.
Well, here's the other thing: is that, you know, I've talked to gay people before, and if you're not gay, they're not that interested in you. So it's not just because they're naked men running around that they're interested. You know.
Now, again, I do believe that if you're a team that's going to like Michael Sam, you could potentially like him even more, because a man who's overcome the obstacles he's overcome. And you hear things about his family, and you hear about his father. The man who's overcome those kind of things, that's a very relevant issue.
I think the question is going to be how tough is he? That's, you know what I mean?
But the larger issue is it's awfully hard to be a pass rushing defensive end linebacker with his measurables. I mean, if you look at a player that tends to be a great college player that's not a great pro player, it's that pass rushing outside player who beats up on a lot of guys who'll be selling insurance on Saturdays who aren't going to ever play in the NFL. I mean, NFL tackles are not college tackles.
Yeah, hopefully he's a good enough athlete he can make the conversion, but that's a good point. I mean, there have been so many great players in college who just are total washouts in the pros.
Mm-hmm.
That's
right. Well, I have clients who play tackle in the NFL that will talk about this situational pass rusher edge guy. And these 260-pound players who dominate in college, those are the players that have a very hard transition at the next level.
Yeah, they're all now 295 and 300 now, and they're running 4.4s, you know.
Oh, they're 245 pounds and run 4.5s.
Yeah, exactly. Even Mansell was, he was what? He was 4.4, was he?
4.5.
4.5. Yeah.
4.5.
But
Jadavian Clowney, wow,
oh my gosh,
he had some eye-popping numbers.
He's a beast.
Yeah.
Moving on here, Ralph Kiner just recently passed on. He was how old was he? 90.
About 90. Yeah.
Now, here's one of the things I want to point out, because I wanted to hear from Steve here. Is okay, so let's see here. He hit 22 home runs in 1954. He agreed to play for the Indians, but only, he said, on the condition that that they cut his $65,000 salary by the maximum allowable 25%.
He must have made a lot of money on the side and put it away.
No, but I mean, there's a guy who's basically, what sounds like, he's looking out for the team.
Yeah.
I mean, and some of these guys, there's rules about how much you're allowed to do.
I read that quote because I think that was in the Michael Sam issue of the Sports Illustrated.
It is, and that's where it is right there.
And you know, what I remember about Ralph Kiner is I grew up in New York, and Kiner had this show, Kiner's Corner, which was pretty much the first of its kind, where these players would all get together afterwards in their slippers talking baseball. He was an amazing player.
Great player, and what a character, too. I remember once going up to him, and I was a young broadcaster, and I said, hey, I'm just curious, what kind of advice would you give to somebody getting into broadcasting? Know somebody who owns a station.
Yeah.
Have a dad who owns a station. I thought, okay.
Okay, so here's, again, sort of along these lines here. There are 5 baseball managers who've been hired who have, quote, no experience. Now, we had Brian Price on recently, and but they mentioned him, but they have Brad Osmus here and some other guys who, they say Matt Williams, but I thought he
was coaching.
He Who's coaching?
Yeah.
Who's coaching?
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know how they say managing, coaching. I mean, it's all kind of the same. Isn't
Walt
it?
Weiss, right?
Yeah.
Is he on there? Walt Weiss on
Yeah,
there?
Walt Weiss never managed.
Yeah,
He never managed. He's
No.
the
Yeah.
Colorado Rockies
Yeah.
manager.
So what do you think about that? Just getting these guys who are quote inexperienced. But again, I don't think they're inexperienced.
Because they know the game.
Yeah,
They know the game. They know the
especially if they went
routine.
from coach to manager.
Yeah, but
that's not that
being a
much-
manager is a
I mean,
different.
I also think baseball manager is different than pro football coach.
Oh yeah.
Or I mean, again, I think that
Basketball, too.
baseball manager is so much your ability to handle people, and if you're someone who is good at managing people, that is a skill that you could have acquired without having managed people.
Is that you got to know Dusty Baker, I'm sure, because you're in the backyard. Is he, of all the managers you've seen, one of the best in terms of being able to understand the athletes' inner workings and just deal with them on a very visceral and personal level?
No, I think Dusty Baker was a great manager, but I didn't know him well enough to feel
okay.
that. I think I'm blown away by Bochy. I think Bochy.
Oh yeah.
I think Bochy is one of the best managers I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I think that the San Francisco Giants are a tremendously well-run team.
Well, it's interesting too to think about. Football, you got to really be watching the clock. Baseball, you got all the time in the world theoretically, right?
It's like George Carlin's routine. Football takes 60 minutes. Baseball, we could play extra innings.
Yeah.
We could play
or
till
just
tomorrow.
you have a lot of time to think.
Yeah.
Nothing happens really that fast.
Thinking of that routine.
Yeah, it's
It's
great
like
routine.
football is grizzled and you try to kill someone.
In baseball, you want to go home.
That's right. And be safe at home.
Yeah.
I'm safe at home. I'm safe at home.
You guys are funny.
Good old George Carlin. Did you ever meet him, by the way, Steve? You met some interesting people. Did you ever meet George Carlin?
I never met George Carlin, although George Carlin was my father was a fanatic George Carlin fan. He used to play George Carlin endlessly in our car. My father actually represented Ed Sullivan.
Really?
So
Get out of here.
So you got to
Wow.
meet Red
So
Sullivan when you were a little kid,
I
huh?
have a picture of myself on the stage there with Ed Sullivan.
Really?
Also, my father represented John Lennon in Tax
I was
Mask.
going to say that you and the Beatles in the same stage.
It wasn't the Beatles.
No,
It wasn't
okay.
the Beatles.
All right.
He probably came up, put his hand on your shoulder, and was like, "You're a really fine boy."
Yeah.
It's a
Someday
fun
you're going to
show.
grow up to be a sports agent.
Yeah.
Okay, now the Sochi Olympics cost $51 billion.
Mhm.
Question.
More than all the previous Winter Olympics combined.
Unbelievable.
So here's the question: was it worth it?
I think for the Soviets it was.
Ask
Don't you?
Putin. He'll tell you.
Yeah. Good public
It
relations.
put sushi. It put
Put
sushi.
sushi.
It put sushi on the map.
It
It put
did.
sushi on the map. I mean,
That revitalized it. What do you think, Steve? Do you think it was worth it to the Soviet Union to spend that kind of money?
I do. I think the Soviet Union had a 2-week-long advertisement on the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
I still never want to visit there though.
I think
It was supposed to be like some rundown resort town, and then they just from the bare bones they put $50 billion into it.
Was it Beijing that they built that huge stadium and then
Yes.
within a year or two, it's
Yeah.
like they tore it down or it's just empty? I mean,
Not sure about that,
gosh,
yeah.
I wonder what's happening here.
Another, it's an advertisement for the Chinese. I mean, that's what it was. Just like this was an advertisement for. I imagine Putin was very happy that Ukraine is a separate country too. Can you imagine having that mess in the middle of the
yeah.
Olympics?
No, I will say this: I would rather go to Deer Valley than Sochi. But yeah, but they
Not
don't
much
have,
of a choice there.
but
Cheaper too.
but there's no Stein Erickson Lodge at Sochi.
Yeah. And it takes only an hour to get there as opposed to 12 hours to get to Sochi.
Is that all it takes?
Well, I don't know.
No,
I'm
it's
just
gonna
kidding.
take more
Maybe
than
16 hours. You got
Probably,
to get a
probably
direct
just from
flight.
Siberia, it's 12
Yeah.
12 hours. Okay, I tried to get into this a few weeks ago, but this time ran out. 4 players were banned from Iranian's women's national team for failing gender tests.
Ooh, hello.
Whoa, we've heard of cheating on, with drugs.
Yeah, exactly. So they were either
Jeez.
men who had not completed sex change operations
Oh,
or were
my
suffering
God.
from sexual development disorders.
Well, this didn't it happen with the East German women? They were taking such high levels of steroids back in the 60s and early 70s. Some of them actually became men. They later changed over. Maybe you heard this story, didn't you?
That's
Steve?
a chromosome mix-up right there.
Have you guys heard this story though?
Yeah.
Seriously. I mean, I was on 60 Minutes.
And they didn't even have to have an operation, just the hormones changed.
Can you imagine that though? How would you represent? Well, actually, that's a terrible thing to say. I mean, they have rights to it, but I mean, it's got to be strange.
No, but now some of these,
It's a shame that you're not covering a wide range of topics on this.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's what it is. It's 14.
I'm thinking actually back when back in the days when I used to work at my father's law firm, I'd walk up Park Avenue to his law firm, and the office I used to always pass was that of Dr. Renee Richards.
Wow. Yeah, now she was a internist, right? A regular.
She was a doctor.
Yeah, regular family doctor, normal person. You know,
For the rest of us who can't remember Renee Richards.
Renee Richards was the man who had a
Richard
Jack-
Raskin.
Richard Raskin, who
Yeah.
became a female and then proceeded from being a mediocre male player to a dominant female player.
Well, that's
She beat Margaret Court, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, Margaret Court was
that's
serious.
So did Bobby Riggs.
Yeah, that's true. Bobby Riggs
Yeah.
did.
See,
Yeah.
I remember that now.
And Billie Jean got her revenge.
Yeah, when he was about 180 years
Yeah,
old.
yeah.
Okay, here's our third and final trivia question. Commercial break. The theme again is winners in baseball. Who was the first player in history to win 3-season MVP awards?
Ooh, I think I know that
All
one.
right. The first 3 emails. Don't say anything.
Okay.
The first 3 emails.
First player to win 3 MVPs?
Yeah, the first player in history to win 3-season MVP. So
When
we're
was the
talking
MVP originated?
56, 47?
No, it was before that.
50. Okay.
No. Okay, the first 3 emails.
We already got some
Correct
information for
answer,
that.
that's right. Win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Email Edward at sportsecon101.com. The answer to this question: who was the first player in history to win 3-season MVPs? We're not.
Why do you
worried
say
about
season
Because we're not worried about.
MVPs?
We're not talking about like the World Series.
Oh yeah, you're just talking about regular season
Regular
MVPs.
Okay, and when we come back, we've got some interesting thoughts for the day and 10 things that sound dirty in golf but aren't. You guys are going to kick out of that.
Can't wait. Boy, that's a tease.
That'll tease.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
That'll hold them.
Is it Jackie Robinson?
No, but
I'm not saying
the
anything.
fact that he said earlier,
Yes.
but the fact that we said, I was going to say Mickey Mantle.
Oh, well, yeah,
The
well,
fact
well,
that he
you're
said
right,
it had to
you're
be
right.
earlier,
It is
so it's
Mickey
got to be Ty Cobb or Lou
Yeah.
Gehrig or Babe Ruth.
It does. Well, I think, was the MVP that long ago, though? I thought it was more like the 50s. Like,
I don't know actually when it started.
yeah, I think it was in the 50s.
He has a name. I mean,
I
based
got
on
the name.
based on what he
Mickey
said,
Mantle.
I'd say it's a name that was in the 40s. So I'd say Ted Williams.
Ted Williams, maybe? Okay.
Let's put it this way: you
I'm gonna
guys,
say
you
Mickey
guys
Mantle.
will have heard of this player.
I'm going to say
Thank you.
Mickey Mantle.
Well, it's not Mickey Mantle because that.
No,
that
it
is
would have
what
been
said.
before Mickey Mantle.
Oh,
Right.
he did
Oh,
say
there's the
that.
point.
So
Okay.
it has to be a 40s
Oh,
or
okay.
30s. So
I thought
it's
he
it's
said.
Gehrig or DiMaggio.
DiMaggio.
I thought he said he thought the MVP was created before.
When we
the
first
50s.
started doing the show, the show's only been around since May. I started off like really easy questions. Then I realized, you know what, I got to keep these guys, entertained. So usually they'll get 1 or 2. Well, here you guys do get.
I'll tell you, what do you think's the most? What do you think's the single hardest record in baseball to break? And I don't think there's even a debate.
Cy Young.
Right.
Has
No,
to-
no, Cy Young wins.
I know that's not
Right.
the Cy Young wins. It's almost
It's
impossible.
it's inconceivable.
How do you win 30 games? I mean, you don't anymore because you don't get enough starts to win 30 games.
Now, I got
But if you win 25 games, 20 straight years, you still don't break the record.
right?
Yeah, that's the one I think too. People say, oh, the Joe DiMaggio streak break.
Yeah, but,
No,
then-
no.
but every year you have a shot.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good point. So I got one for you. What is the hardest? Not bowling because these guys know I'm a bowler or used to be. What is the hardest game to bowl?
Hardest
Not-
game.
not a
I mean, I'm
perfect
sorry.
game.
What's
You mean
the
hardest
score?
situation?
The hardest score.
It's
Oh,
a perfect game, right?
No, 'cause- no.
No. Well, the hardest score to
are you
get.
talking about on a
Or hardest score
on
to
a,
get.
you mean like a 7-10 split?
No,
You mean
no,
that?
that'd be a split. I'm talking about the game.
Total
like,
number
like
of
300 or
Okay, 300
bowling
is a perfect
100. So what's the number? What would be the hardest?
So it's not a perfect game.
No, and I figured this out. It's funny because I thought about this one day, and then one day I read a trivia question. And I go, I know what the answer is.
Well, tell us. I've never guessed.
292.
No, why 292?
Because what happens is you have to throw 11 strikes,
Right,
and to get one ball where you hit only 2 pins,
right.
you have to chop either the 4-7 or the 6-10.
Oh.
It's very, very hard to do. So it's just something I just kind of I thought I made up, and then I read it one time, and I go, hey, it looks like I got it right.
But you'd have to accidentally do it. I mean, nobody would do that on
Well,
with
true,
purpose.
but even if you tried to do it on purpose, it would still be the hardest one to do.
There was once a game called pinpoint bowling.
Yes, I still remember that.
Where
I remember that.
Where-
So, yeah, you
Yeah.
specifically try to get the split, or,
Yeah.
or you'd have to get
Right.
Sorry,
That's
you got
cool.
a split, or you'd have to go. Okay, you gotta
I
get
mean, in a lot of ways, that's more exciting than bowling. I mean, I know you
Yeah.
love bowling,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
it's true.
But no, that's true.
That's
We used to watch
I know more exciting than bowling is a non sequitur, but I just.
I know, unfortunately, it's my sport.
I like bowling.
My wife and my daughter love it, and
So
I cannot figure this out.
2 times in history, the Major League home run leader had a lower batting average than the Cy Young Award winner in the players.
Was it Ralph Kiner was one, right?
Nope.
No.
What year?
Oh, Ernie Lombardi.
It was the 2 hitters are Dave Kingman and Harmon Killebrew.
Oh yes, very good. I would have known Kingman.
I got this from Ralph Kiner.
Really
and,
nice.
and the
Killebrew.
pitchers were Jim Perry and Steve Carlton.
Wow, Steve Carlton.
Because Steve
Wow.
Carlton, I mean, what you need is home run hitters that don't hit for average
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
pitchers who hit well.
He was a good pitching hitter.
Jim Perry and Steve Carlton were both really good hitters.
Yeah, Dave Kingman was always kind
Oh,
of.
about 236,
Yeah.
and Harmon was about 243, I think.
Well, we had that trivia question. Okay, which these guys already know now. Okay, Jerry West for the logo. Who's the logo for baseball?
Who was the logo for baseball?
I had this question on
Who was it?
Harmon Killebrew.
Harmon Killebrew.
Oh, I did know that. I knew that.
He died recently too. He died
I
right
did
here.
know that. I did
Yeah.
know that. I did know that.
He was the A's announcer for a year on TV.
That's right.
Yeah, he was our color guy for a year. Nice man.
Nice, good power hitter.
Nice guy.
I'd say.
Has a future.
Okay, so we only have a couple of minutes to go.
Speaking of color guys, I saw Ray Fosse the other day.
Oh, did you? How's he doing?
Fine, he's just walking around.
Too
popping
bad the
up
rule.
right.
Too bad the rule wasn't changed in time for him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But he's so bitter about that. Steve, have you ever talked to him about that?
I haven't.
He is so bitter about it. He hates Pete Rose. It's not so much he hates him for what he did, with the gambling. He just hates him for. Says he didn't have to do that to me.
Yeah.
I said, but I always said to him,
Ruined his career. It was never the same.
I said to Fosse, I said, yeah, you were in his way. He says he could have slid around me easily. He says,
No, if you look though, he starts tripping
Yeah, I know.
when he hits him.
I know.
Yeah.
And it was a clean play. It's just that Rose was the first guy to do that, and Fosse didn't like being the first guy hit and knocked down. Rose was the first guy to come in head first, and really make it popular at the plate. And
Wow.
yeah, he was the first guy to dive into bases.
Yeah,
I mean,
that part I remember, but
Yeah.
but
Well,
I was
the
thinking
first-
about collisions in the home.
the first
plate.
real celebrated one. Let's put it that way.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in a big game. I'm sure it happened before that.
All
But
right.
this probably was the big one.
So I'm gonna thank you for being here. I'll get into our sort of fun thoughts
Steve,
here.
you have any kids?
I have twins.
Oh, okay. How old are they?
Twin 15-year-olds.
Oh my God.
Which I'd love to talk about how Vern Glenn's kids dominate mine.
No, come on. Come on.
That's for the
Ah.
YouTube. It's for those on the air.
Not on the tennis court.
Only one of our kids will have college scholarships.
Well, I don't know about that. I know.
I know.
I know. Well, I told my daughter. I said, "You gotta." She plays softball. I said, "That's how you're going to college."
My daughter said she wants to be an actress. I said, practice saying, "Would you like a burger with your fries?"
Yeah, that's it. 6
Yeah.
words. Yeah.
That's right.
Well, my daughter's genes are pretty good because my wife's mother was a prima ballerina in New York,
Really?
and her dad played for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I told you that.
That's right, you did.
For a short time.
For a short time, yeah.
Before
Boy,
they had
what a
the face
combination,
masks.
huh?
Yeah. So she's got
Well, the golden
she's
couple
got it,
there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Except
Were you at the
teacher
table
around.
when your mother-in-law was telling me about the advice that she was giving Sabrina?
You should
When
bring a
the
picture of them.
subject
I'd love to see them together when they were their youth,
Something to the effect of, well, you
I
gotta
know, yeah.
really, really want it. You gotta give like all of yourself to it. I mean, she
My
was.
God, you look. Oh my God, that's you with glasses, right?
The little boy is
This one here.
Yeah.
Now, what is this from?
That if I showed you a picture of my brother, you don't look like him now. That's my brother.
Really?
Literally, with the glasses, the haircut.
Wow.
How old are you?
I'm
Let's see.
55.
Okay, yeah, he was born in
I
'55.
see you. Oh my God, look at that. Oh my
That's
God.
I mean,
That's a
literally, when
great
I looked at
shot.
that, I would
What a
have sworn
shot.
that was my
Who's
brother.
the lady here?
That's my mom.
That's your mom, and that's your dad up
That's
there.
my dad, and there's my
Sister.
my two
Oh,
sisters.
Is this the
sweet. Look at
picture you
one who's
posted?
hiding behind mom. That's great. Show that to Brenda. Look at how she's
I've
hiding.
seen- yeah, you posted
hiding behind
this.
mom there. That's great.
Yeah.
That's a great
And
shot.
she is
There
the
you
least
are.
shy person on the planet.
Really? She just wasn't particularly enamored with the camera for
The
that.
last time that's ever happened.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Last time, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Vern Glenn,
Woo!
Bruce McGowan.
You should introduce Steve Baker and have him do some kind of weird noise too.
Okay, and Steve Baker, our guest.
There we go.
Okay, when we cut to the third commercial break, we asked this trivia question again. The theme is winners in baseball. Who was the first player in history to win 3 season MVP awards?
Mickey Mantle,
No,
Jackie Robinson,
before them.
Lou Gehrig.
After him.
Joe
No,
DiMaggio.
No, around that time.
Joe
DiMaggio.
DiMaggio.
No, Jimmy Fox.
I was
Jimmy
about to say,
Fox.
1932, 1938, and
Whoa.
1933, and
Jimmy
he won the
Fox.
Triple Crown in 1933. Okay, we've got. I want to again thank our guest here, Steve Baker.
thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. What is Steve Baker's?
Baker Sports Manager.
There you go. And here's our thoughts for the day. Funny saying from Mark Grace on giving up a home run to rookie David Moss in his relief pitching appearance in 2002. I didn't have a scouting report on him. Obviously, he can hit 65-mile-an-hour fastballs. And here's some golf humor here. Okay, these are 10 top 10 things that sound dirty in golf but aren't. Number 10, nuts. My shaft is bent. And next one. After 18 holes, I can barely walk. You really whacked the hell out of that sucker. Look at the size of his putter. Keep your head down and spread your legs a little bit more. Mind if I join your threesome? Stand with your back turned and drop it. My hands are so sweaty I can't get a good grip. Nice stroke. Okay, let me try this again. Nice stroke, but your follow through has a lot to be desired. And the number one thing that sounds dirty in golf but isn't, hold up, I need to wash my balls first. All right, tune in.
We all said that.
We all said that, yeah. Both on and off the golf course. Okay, tune in next week to Sports Econ 101. We're going to be discussing sports topics from a business perspective and giving away more free vacations for answering sports trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm your host, Edward Brown. We'll see you next week.
Good night, America.
So long.
Good show, Steve.
Good,
That was fun.